Welcome aboard the Just Help Out Mindset podcast, where your compassionate guide, Nicole Venegas, takes the helm. Brace yourselves for an immersive experience as we delve into the heart of crucial conversations. We're set to explore the intricacies of suicide prevention, navigate the landscape of mental health, and boldly shatter the stigma surrounding therapy. This isn't just a podcast, it's an odyssey of resilience and understanding. Join us on this transformative journey filled with stories, insights, and a collective mission to create a world that embraces the strength of empathy and helping others. Fasten your seatbelts. We're about to embark on a voyage towards a healthier, more compassionate existence.
Welcome, listeners. I'm your host, Nicole Venegas. This podcast is named after our nonprofit called the Just Help Out Foundation, which is located in Tampa, Florida, and was created from a pure tragedy. My brother died by suicide on May 3rd of 2022, and that horrific day will be forever etched in my brain. A few days before he did it, he said he was feeling hopeless, so our nonprofit organization helps anyone in the community who may be feeling hopeless. And everyone that we help in the community is called a Joey. So far, after being around for 1 year, we have been able to help almost 50 Joeys since our inception, from homelessness, hunger, domestic violence, and mental health. The purpose of this podcast is to explore mental health in its entirety and to let everyone know you are not alone. If you think you are the only one suffering from anxiety, depression, OCD, panic disorder, agoraphobia, I challenge you to think again. I am also a mental health professional and see clients daily who are strong and courageous, and they have decided to talk about their feelings and process unturned stones in their lives. I hope you will do the same with me here today. Welcome to episode number 8 of the Just Help Out Mindset podcast. Oh, you are in for a treat today. We are joined in the studio with, I would definitely say, a pillar in the Tampa Bay community's mental health world. I am so excited that she has joined us. Rosmer Mena is the founder of Inner Glow Center, a mental health and wellness center, which we're going to get way more into soon. Very excited to talk about that. She is a women wellness coach and a licensed psychotherapist trained in multiple holistic modalities that include somatic and trauma-informed yoga. I love that. Her years of experience in the mental health wellness field have given her practical skills, which have been the perfect combination to incorporate with individuals seeking a bottom-up approach. This refers to the analysis of raw sensory data, such as sights, sounds, and sensations, which then forms the basis for higher level cognitive processes and perception. We're going to dive way deeper into that. In this sense, the information flows from the sensory input to the brain, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. You see how it's all connected. The bottom-up approach has been her modality of preference in helping individuals deepen their inner connection as they identify and release trapped stress and emotions in their bodies. Oh my goodness. She has been doing this for 19 years in total. And she has gotten her master's degree from University of Central Florida. So we are so excited. She is a registered yoga teacher as well, and she's trained in EMDR, DBT, and CPT therapy. Welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm really looking forward to having a conversation about, how we can help the mental health community and, bring up to their attention that we're there to help, really.
Absolutely. Yes. The whole premise of the podcast is to break down the stigma of mental health. We want our listeners to know that you're not alone and it's okay to talk about your feelings.
For sure.
Yes. And in everyone's life, we know it's not rainbows and butterflies. And it's okay. You don't have to put on that face for us specifically. So what I really love is the somatic stuff, because I have been seeing a lot of that where you can have all of the stress trapped in your body for years and years and years, and you don't even know. So talk to us a little bit more about that approach and what you've seen in your own practice of when people release that stress.
Yes, for sure. So, unfortunately, we tend to be in our head maybe 95% of the time, and we really neglect the signs that we get from our bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happens, has kind of like an imprint in our functionality when it comes to mobility and agility and, things that we do. So, trauma gets really caught in the body, and we don't pay attention to it. So, therefore, we're trying to fix the mind, my thoughts, what I'm thinking, what I'm hearing. And if we were to take some time to really tune in to the feelings that we have and have an internal conversation, paying attention really to the body and the feelings, we can see a lot of changes happening and a lot of, alleviation from discomfort and fears and frustration and, even lack of connection with our surrounding and things that we do and feeling the sense of like, why am I here?
Oh, I love the word. I love how you said internal conversations. And I think that is something that people do not stop and think that they should do it or that it's important. So if you could expand a little bit more on how do you have an internal conversation? What kind of things do you generally recommend your clients do to initiate that?
Mm-hmm. And that is, a lot of connecting to your breath, right? Like just sit and breathe. And you don't have to do any specific type of breathing. You could just breathe. Close your eyes if you like to, soften your gaze if you feel that that's the path you want to take, or focus your attention on something, but really tuning in to what sensation you're feeling and allowing for that sensation to be there and asking yourself, why is the sensation here? Why am I feeling this? What is the message of this sensation, that tension, the friction, the heat that you might feel in when you feel like a tug in your stomach? There's some sort of heat that you feel. So really paying attention and asking yourself, what is this trying to tell me?
Oh, I love that. So you would have to put your phone down.
Yes, for sure. You want to, yes, because that's another thing. The phone, it's like our safety blanket. We have it with us 24/7, and there's so much information that it really dysregulates us. So
Yes.
putting it down, it's key, number one.
Yes. Put the phone down, walk away from all these distractions, and
Mhm.
you actually would have to be alone with yourself with
Yes.
no distractions.
Yes,
Do
for
you?
sure. I would say find a space that feels comfortable, soothing for you. And we can create these spaces, right? We just don't think about it, but we can. It could be your closet, it can even be your bathroom, right? Like it doesn't have to be a huge space. It could be any simple space where you put it the way that you want it to be, that creates a sense of safety net for you. So going in there and sitting down and knowing that at the beginning it's going to be different and it's going to be uncomfortable because if we're not used to doing it, it's just going to feel strange.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for the ones that have little kids like myself, the bathroom is tough because they're right there. They want to come in the bathroom. But what about the car?
The cart is also another location that you can use for sure. You just have to be parked, obviously.
Yes.
And perhaps even a parking space where there's not a lot of noise or traffic and, distractions.
I love it. Like you go to the park, you go in front of the water.
Yes, for
and
sure.
just have a minute to yourself because we're all so busy and we have
Mhm.
so many things going on and we do not take time. Even how long would you recommend? So if someone's never done this before and they wanted to try to start an internal conversation, how long would you say?
I would say 5 minutes. It's a good enough time to start because you don't want to do 10 minutes when this is brand new,
Yes.
right? It's like we start crawling slowly before we run. But then this
Yes.
becomes, habitual if you do it often. And that's the goal, right? To incorporate this as part of your life, not just as a tool to kind of like fix something, but more so preventative also.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Now, when we talk about the mental health stigma, are there specific strategies you use to challenge the stigma within that clinical setting?
So for me, I think that it started with my own story. Right. So I tend to put myself in spaces where I can share my story from a space of authenticity. And, I'm very open to asking questions because a lot of the time there's a lot of lack of trust. And, building that trust is important for people to want to know more.
Yes.
So
I love
those are
it.
the strategies that I put in place, right?
So you, to build that rapport, you basically kind of show your vulnerability first.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And do you notice when you start to share your story, the client kind of puts their wall down?
Yes, definitely. They either put it down or, they distance. And that's okay too, right? Like, not all stories are going to be a story that a person wants to hear, or not all stories you're going to connect to. But just knowing that every story, there's a lot of stories there, and there will be a story that you can connect, and it's going to allow you to put the wall down.
Do you mind sharing a little bit of your story?
Of course, I do not. Yes. So my story, I got married at a very young age, and was homeless at a very young age, and became a mom at a very young age, and experienced a lot of what I consider trauma. Because one thing that's important, to point out is that what's traumatic for me might not be traumatic for somebody else. So trauma, it's a very subjective in that sense. So for me, a lot of my traumas came from, I was a victim of domestic abuse. I was homeless. I was raped. And, me being in these spaces and not having any support was really what pushed me to say, I want to help people not experience what I experience. And if they do experience these things, because we really have no control, find and create places where people can go and feel seen, heard, supported, and acknowledged. And that's, pretty much sums it up. I mean, it's a really long story, but just to give you guys, a little bit about, that story that I share with people. I decided that life could be more than, my experiences. And I, pursue a career that I'm passionate about it and I love. And it's, I'm devoted to this career because I know how it can help people change lives.
Wow. I want to thank you so much for sharing that story. That is an immense amount of trauma, immense. And you have looked inward. You've had your own internal conversations, and your story is now helping so many people. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And what age were you homeless?
I want to say maybe 18, 19.
Okay. So at 18, you had zero support. You're homeless. You had a baby.
So my son was born at 18, but I was married at 15. And the person that I married to was my abuser.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. So how do you work through that trauma? Of course, you've gotten to learn the tools and you work through it and all that good stuff. But what did you find was the most helpful thing for you to start the healing process?
I think that back then it was my spirituality. I really had a strong faith in God. And then also I like to think that my temperament aligns with, wanting better. So I was my own motivator and I pushed myself and I said, I want better, not just for me, but also for my kids.
Oh, I love it. You're a strong woman.
I think so.
I would say so. I would say so. So now here we are. We fast forward and you're about to open your own wellness center.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so
yes.
excited. So tell the listeners all about it, what is going to be there, what they can expect.
Oh man, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to provide services to people that are going to combine, the mental aspect, the spiritual aspect, and also the physical aspect, because we're not just our mind, we're not just our body, we're not just our spirit, we're, the three of these components together in one space. So the center is going to have, outside of the counseling services, it's also going to have these holistic modalities such as yoga, sound healing, Reiki, journaling. We're going to have also what do you call it? Sorry, I'm losing the name. What is it? Acupuncture. We're going to have also massage. We're also going to have packages for people who want to enhance their training performances because, again, the body, the more vitality that we have in our function, the more longevity we have. And, it's a mood booster. We're going to also have nutrition services. We're going to have coaching services. So we're going to have a lot of different services to, again, address all these different components of the human, the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Wow, this is absolutely phenomenal. And we were discussing the Just Help Out Foundation. Of course, our whole point is to help with mental health. So we're going to partner for sure in this upcoming year and help as many people as we can kind of go from, of course, our premise is from hopeless to hopeful. And this wellness center would just be it's a one-stop shop.
Yes, for sure.
It's everything.
That's exactly what it is, a one-stop shop.
So talk to me more about yoga because I've tried yoga and I've tried it a few times. I don't know. And I hear the benefits. I hear how good it is. But like for someone that has tried and it's so like, I don't know if it's challenging or what it is. What kind of recommendations do you give? Because and what benefits do you see from yoga when we're dealing with trauma?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So one of the things that's important to notice is that not all teachers teach the same way. Yoga, it's more than just the asana. So the asana is the poses, right? Like, so people tend to come to yoga because of the asana, right? The movement, and we see in Instagram and in social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever the case might be, we see people posting about how flexible they are and how they can do chaturanga, which is plank, and how they do down facing dog and all these different poses. And you think that you got to do that. And if you don't do that, then you can't do yoga.
Yes.
But the truth is that there's so many different types of yoga. There's many limbs to yoga. You have the breathing, you have the being mindfulness, you have the doing the asana, and there's different type of asana. You have yin yoga, you have restorative yoga, you have ashtanga, you have vinyasa.
Wow.
So it's really,
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So it's really, exploring, what will work for you and not saying, oh, I tried it and it didn't work or I don't like it. I mean, and you might not like it at that particular time, but you might find a teacher that's going to guide you in a way that you're going to feel that you're doing very little, yet finding a lot of, rewarding feelings, alleviation of discomfort, distress, pain, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, hip pain, and the more that you do it, the better that you get at doing it, the more that you love it. With trauma, you feel the ability to go from a very low energy, depression, anxiety to very high energy. Or if you're very anxious, you're very stimulated, very agitated. When you do yoga, when you do movement, when you combine the movement with the breath, that's going to soothe your nervous system, which in terms is going to put you in parasympathetic state of being, which is where we want to be for the most part, right? So it's just being mindful that, you have to keep digging because there are a lot of benefits to it. And the fact that the first time you didn't connect or you didn't do it, you don't have to be, super flexible to yoga. On the contrary, the more you do it, the more flexible that you become.
Okay, well, you can count me in when your center opens.
For sure.
And
definitely invited.
And our producer here raised his hand. He wants to come too.
Yes.
We're going to do yoga session.
For sure.
Now, I have been seeing videos, of course, on social media where people, I don't know if they're doing like somatic stretching or yoga poses, and some poses actually will cause the people to cry. And I am fascinated, and I know our body holds a lot of things when you go through, you've been through horrific things.
Yes.
And in my trauma, of course, from my brother passing away, and I was there that day. I was outside of the house when it happened. My mom was in the house when it happened. So I was also 6 months pregnant when it happened. Yeah. So the emotions that I held on to from that incident, I can only imagine, is it like a pressure point that you hit and then all of a sudden it just is released? But what's your experience with that?
It's very much so that it's a pressure point that releases that energy, and that's this comforting sensation, because that's what it is. It's this comforting sensation that we learn to, just leave it there and keep going, right? Because life keeps happening. But yes, so, and the other thing is that when you're doing yoga and you're getting to that point where, you're seeing the benefit, it's when you're really connecting and you're connecting to your body and your body feels safe to release, even when you don't even hit a pressure point.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So if your mind is relaxed, you feel like you're in a safe space, your body just feels like it can
Yes,
release. Have you yourself seen firsthand people crying at certain moments of this kind of therapy?
I see it very often, a lot of the time with a lot of patients in my sessions. I do incorporate a lot of movement, a lot of breathing, a lot of, being mindful. We do a lot of body scanning and checking in and giving ourselves permission.
Mm.
And yeah, a lot of big transformations happen.
I love it. I don't know if you could think of it like off the top of your head, if you could think of one client that had like the biggest transformation, if you could think of it, if it comes to mind, I would love to hear how the patient came to you and then how they left you.
Yeah, so I actually had a patient, and she came to me because she had a very rocky relationship with her mom. And obviously, this relationship her dad actually was abusing her sexually.
Oh my God.
And mom was, not supportive or getting involved. And more so, mom was, asking her daughter to forgive her dad for what he did. So she had a really hard time understanding where mom was coming and even having a relationship with her dad, which mom pushed her to continue to have regardless of, the experience that she had. And I remember we started doing a lot of somatic movement and doing a lot of postures and, doing a lot of breathing and also doing talk therapy, because obviously you have to get into that mind space. And with time, her fear was to break up with the relationship with her father, because she didn't want to have a relationship, but because she wanted to please her mom, she continued to have that relationship with her dad. And with coming to session and, practicing yoga outside of the session was one thing that I encouraged for her to do. And I gave her some posture that she can do and some breathing techniques. And she did. She incorporated these things at home. And eventually she decided she wasn't going to have a relationship with her dad. She wasn't going to continue, giving in to what her mom wanted her to do.
Good.
And, she was just so happy that she came in, and these were her tools that she used even in her other relationships with other people, her boyfriend, friends. And that was a huge change, because when she came to me, she will crawl kind of like, fetus position in like my couch.
Yes.
And towards the end, she would just, her shoulder was open, her heart, her head. She made a lot of eye contact. It was just amazing.
It's the best. It's the best when the client comes in and they're not looking at you. They're just nervous. They don't want to be there. And then, fast forward some sessions and they're just like totally different person.
Yes.
Just from working with them and letting them process, validating them, understanding it wasn't her fault. And this is, I know from our perspective as mental health clinicians, we can't get into that minutia of the abuse part. But when you get a client who comes to you like that and mom knows dad's doing it and then expects the daughter to forgive him, that is beyond comprehension for me. How did that sit with you when you heard that this was what was going on at home?
Oh, it was rough, obviously, because not only is she receiving the physical abuse, her mom, the person that you want them, is supposed to make you feel safe, it's supposed to make you feel heard and seen. It is validating that this is okay, that is happening. So that sat with me pretty hard. And, I, was determined to walk this path with her for as long as I needed to. And it happened that, she was very receptive of the treatment approach that we put in place. And she made very fast, progress and made decisions that served her as opposed to pleasing mom.
And was she a minor?
No. She was an adult.
Oh,
and,
an adult.
The abuse from her dad happened when she was about 13, 14, 15, 16.
Well, I wish we could put them in jail.
Yes.
Or somewhere, somewhere very, very far from anybody. That's a whole nother show. We'll save that.
Sure.
I'll let my anger subside on that one. But thank goodness for people like you, because this girl had gone through so much trauma I can't even comprehend that trauma. And then she meets you, an absolute light in her life, who is there holding her hand, walking her through this, patient as long as she needs. And you kind of released her like a butterfly,
Yes,
right?
and she's so happy currently where she's at. And to just to give a little bit about her dad, he's now super older. I believe he has dementia and he is at a nursing home.
Mm. I won't comment.
Yeah.
um, as we wrap up, everything you've shared is phenomenal. We'll have to have like a part 2. But I know you mentioned movement in your sessions, and my brother, who was like years beyond his time, he would go for walks in nature with no phone or anything for like hours. And we were like, what are you doing? How could you do that? But he was connecting and he was moving. So talk to the listeners about how important incorporating movement is throughout your day or even throughout your therapy session.
Yes, so emotions are caught up in the body and emotions need motion. And the motion doesn't have to be an intense motion. Going for a walk, it's motion, right? Like you're moving. You're pushing this energy to flow inside of you. Just doing, twist. That's a movement, Dancing is a movement. So putting some music and doing some twist. That's a movement. Also, uplifting your hands and inhaling deeply, if that is something that works for you. For some people, inhaling deeply can be agitating. So I do an assessment. I ask questions. I'm very curious. But, just breathing, walking, twisting, dancing, it's any type of movement. It's not movement for performing, right? It's not like performance movement, going to the gym. I get a lot of like when I point out the importance of movement, a lot of my patients come back and they say, I don't have a gym membership. And I'm like, well, I'm not talking about that movement. I'm talking about joyful movement, right? Walking.
Joyful movement.
Yeah, so walking, twisting, dancing, folding forward, reclining your back and kind of like turning. So any movement, really, you want to move your body. And I tell you, the 6 basic movement to keep your body with vitality, it's forward fold, backward fold, side bend, left and right, and then twisting. And it's very simple to do that.
I could do that.
Yes, anywhere. You could do it anywhere.
I'm going to do it right now.
Yes.
What do you do for your own joyful movement?
I do yoga.
Yeah.
I go for walks. I run sometimes. I jog. I'm more so than running. I dance. I dance a lot. I mean, that's like my love language, music.
Music is so good.
Yes.
It's like an instant happy.
Yes,
I love it.
for sure.
Rosmer, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I am so happy to have met you, and I look forward to our relationship growing in the future. And is there anything else you would want the listeners to know when it comes to if they've experienced trauma? Because you actually have. You have walked that walk, unfortunately. But what advice would you give a listener who's maybe had experienced a lot of trauma, but they don't know what to do or where to go?
Well, first and foremost, I will say that, sorry that you have experienced these things, but, your story is your story. And, you can find support, and support can come in many forms. You could be your own supporter as well, just journaling and reminding yourself that you're worthy of being in this planet, and you're worthy of life, and you're worthy of being loved and cared for and seen and heard and acknowledged and validated and celebrated. And, Yes. And, and knock on doors, and, it might take you a couple of knocks, but you find the person. Don't give up on yourself.
Oh my goodness. I have all wonderful sensations running through me while you talk. So Inner Glow Center, expected to open in March?
Yes, in March.
Okay, in Tampa. Is downtown?
It is in Wesley Chapel. So it's North Tampa.
Okay, perfect. And if anyone wanted to find you or get a hold of you, is there a website? Is there a number that they could go to?
Yes. So for now, go to innerglowtherapy.com. we are going to be, opening a different website so that you guys have access to the information pertaining to the new services that we have in place. But for now, you could go to innerglowtherapy.com and you'll find our phone number, email address, and everything else that you might need.
Perfect. And we will put it on there too for everyone to go to. Thank you. It has been an excellent, excellent time spending with you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Please tune in next week for another episode of the Just Help Out Mindset podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.